Jeff Slauson here from 19 News Now at the 19 News digital desk. For those that have not heard about this story, it's been an insane one to go throughout the collegiate world, collegiate sports world. There were multiple games over the last few years where student athletes, at least 20 student athletes, were involved in points shaving. Essentially, what happened here is they had a front man who approached to these student athletes, promised them money if they were to throw games, to have unders on their props. We're talking college basketball, so think a player has 10, 12 points per game line, right? So let's say that they anticipate that he scored more than 10.5 points. Seeing that that's where the Vegas odds put him at, he would score 9 points. That would mean anybody who bet the under would then, yes, make money off of it. So this went on for a couple of years. There were FaceTimes, there were text messages, basically saying, hey, this is happening. The federal government gets involved. There was also betting with Chinese basketball involved in this as well. Hundreds of thousands, if not more, dollars were taken from sports books as a result of these illegal bets. And then ultimately announced today, arrests were made. Now, in the state of Ohio, this type of betting is illegal. You cannot put proposition bets on collegiate athletes in the state of Ohio. You just can't do it. You can't bet on them outside if you're betting in the state of Ohio. However, if you were to bet in, let's say, Pennsylvania, which is where this court case is taking place, you can bet on college athletes and a specific athlete. Again, you could bet on everything from amount of turnovers they're going to have, amount of points they're going to have, things like that. The reason why it's not allowed here in the state of Ohio is that they don't want there to be pressure, immense pressure on this. But that doesn't seem like it is something that is going to catch on for a lot of areas, right? Again, in the state of Ohio, you can't have it, but in Pennsylvania you can, which could put pressure on athletes from the state of Ohio. Kent State was involved in one of those games. They didn't have any gamblers on their side, but they were involved on the other side where a player was shaving points. Now, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back right out of the break, and we're going to get to an interview that I did. This was with Bianca Smith, sports law attorney here in the city of Cleveland. Really great interview, really great insight into specifically why this can have a massive impact here in the state of Ohio, because this obviously is not isolated. We'll get to that after a short break. Just to kind of start off with all of this here, if you can, at the very base level, explain to those folks that are kind of unsure about how this happened or what happened here, what took place in this situation. Obviously, this is very, 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 very bad for a wide range of issues. But if you can, just kind of give us the not the specifics, but kind of the easy way to understand what took place here.
Sure. So, what we have here is a 6 count complaint out of the Eastern District of Pennsylvania, indicting 26 people surrounding a point shaving and betting scheme that expands from the Chinese Basketball Association all the way down to the NCAA. And what we have is 1 count of bribery in sporting contests, which holds up to 5 years in prison and fines. We have a count of conspiracy to commit wire fraud, which holds up to 20 years in prison, including up to and including fines and restitution as well. We have 3 counts of wire fraud, which is essentially using a technological device or an electronic communication to further the scheme, whether that be a FaceTime communication, as they mentioned here, a text message, social media, direct messages, things of that nature to communicate the elements of the scheme. And then finally, we have one count of aiding and abetting, which is punishable if you committed any of the underlying federal crime or had a part therein. So it's a pretty serious complaint with some very serious consequences that are pending.
Sports gambling and the abuse of it has obviously been a problem for many years. And then, sorry about that. And then we have a situation where it becomes legal in many states, here in Ohio, all over basically. The legality of it has been a question here in the state of Ohio. The governor has said that he's had a problem with it a lot here. Can we speak a little bit on this idea of these prop bets and the, I guess, wanting to change it, but legally there would need to be decisions made on that, right? To limit these types of bets.
Right. I think that these types of cases illustrate for us the groundwork to implement either regulations or legislation to either restrict prop betting or to eliminate it altogether at the collegiate level. I think the struggle that we have here is that the public is interested in it. They love it. It's recreational, but at the same time, it's undermining the idea of competition. And when we have athletes and or fixers that are taking it upon themselves to affect the outcome of a game, that is not the intention of sports betting. And I think that our legislators are very concerned that they need to get a handle on this and get a handle on this early. This case illustrates the groundwork that they can use to do that.
You have a situation where obviously you need to prove that things like this happened, and then you have text messages that say good job for shaving points, or hey, you tried your best to lose this game. How much of a smoking gun is something like that?
It's bad. I can't undermine that. It is, when a investigation culminates from the Department of Justice and the FBI, they're not just bringing it for fun. They've done the work. They have the backbones to stand up this allegation. And what we have allegations of here are FaceTime communications, flight reservations, and travel arrangements to go visit players to recruit them to participate in the scheme. They have done their homework. And so it would be naive of us to think that they're bringing this case without having the actual evidence to support it. And I think that we have a description within the complaint of like a tiered scheme. That tier involves the fixers, which are players and alumni and figureheads in the sports gambling world. We have lieutenants who worked for the fixers to recruit additional players to engage in the scheme. And in some instances, those lieutenants delivered payments to those players on their college campuses per the allegation, and or communicated with them like, thank you, good job, like we all won tonight, things of that nature. And then we have our player participants who, quite frankly, when you have players who are known for doing extremely well on the basketball court, so well so that they made it to Division I basketball, and they're averaging 20 points a game, 25, 30 points a game, and all of a sudden they score 6, there's going to be a magnifying glass on that, and people are going to want to know more. Whether it's from the fan base or whether it's from a regulatory standpoint, people want to know, this is a fluke. This is not what this player is known for. And in the climate that we have right now, questions will be asked and investigations will be launched.
Currently in the state of Ohio, prop bets are not allowed on collegiate sports, but that doesn't mean that you can't bet on Ohio-related sports in other states, right?
Correct.
The reason I'm asking that part of this leads into the next one. We have situations where this has happened for multiple schools in multiple states. It does feel like it's only a matter of time until it does seriously involve. Now, we do know that Kent State was involved in this. They had no part in it, but they were one of the opponents in this. It feels like it's just a natural, thing to potentially see a school or a player in Ohio involved in something like this. If that is the case, where do you see this going? Where do you see the state of Ohio kind of taking this? I mean, that feels like it would absolutely be the tipping point if we aren't already at that point.
Sure. I think that we have to be very cognizant that the NCAA has 365 Division I men's basketball teams with just under 6,000 players playing at this level. And who knows the exact number of what's in Ohio that's related to that. But the NCAA is known for cross-country competitions. And so these teams will face each other. And when you look at the indictment, you see themes of multiple players from similar schools or from the same school that apparently may or may not have a culture of trying to fix their games. And that's very concerning. From the state of Ohio's perspective, I'm sure Ohio is going to want to regulate against this and continue to make prop betting not a thing here and to ensure that it does not become a problem here. However, we can't control what our neighboring states do, and we can't control what our competitors do in other states, such as Michigan or Georgia or Pennsylvania, where these allegations took place.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up that point here. Just because the bet takes place in Pennsylvania doesn't mean that it can't take place here or that it's legally not a problem in Ohio. When it comes to kind of the two parties here, right? You have the sports lobbyists that are going to be very much so pushing to keep these things going, and then you have the legal point of this here. Oftentimes, I mean, who wins in these situations? Does it really just take the Ohio government or whoever to put a firm foot down? But at the same time, a lot of money is coming into the state regardless of what type of bets.
This is a popular industry, and we would be naive to think that Ohio is going to leave money on the table. But at the same time, it's becoming a dangerous industry as well. And there's space for regulation, there's space for legislation, and I think that we can expect to see some soon. This case is by far, I think, the tip of the iceberg, shall you say, in what we are to expect in collegiate sports. And I think that this is just a peek as to what we're facing.
The last thing I want to hit on here is kind of a holistic look at how these types of things are found out. Previously, if you wanted to sports gamble prior to the legalization, you had to go through a specific person. You had to find that person, place it over the phone or in person. You had to front the money. I mean, it was a little bit more difficult. Now you have games with collegiate athletes that are sponsored by gambling and sports books. It's a lot easier to do it, but that also means it's easier to track. With the way that these things work, has it become easier? Will it continue to become easier for these types of situations to be caught?
I think that is somewhat a difficult question to answer at this phase because if we look at the generation of players that we're talking about, they don't communicate the way the previous generation would have communicated. So a lot of the communications that furthered this scheme took place on social media. And so you can place your bet on your phone. You don't even have to call anyone in order to place a bet. So the accessibility alone is what's going to yield further investigations. There's more and more evidence that's available. It's in the palm of your hand. You don't even have to leave the comforts of your home to engage in both legal and illegal activity. But the benefit to law enforcement is that they don't either. All they have to do is also get a subpoena, search your social media, and the evidence is right there. And the ties to greater Cleveland area is that we are known for having superior athletes here in the greater Cleveland area. Some of the players that are tangentially related to this case came from the greater Cleveland area. And so we can expect that as our athletes continue to grow and succeed, they will leave the borders of Ohio and engage in collegiate athletics on campuses in the states where prop betting is legal. And so will we have ties to our greater Cleveland community? Absolutely. It will come this way, and it will be up to legislators how far they want to take those regulations. We know that the NCAA has already asked for extensive regulation. They are in support of it. They've contacted our state officials to ask that stays in place. And so we know the NCAA is against it, but money talks, and the sports betting people will continue to lobby for their industry.
Especially now that high school athletes can also do the same. I mean,
correct.
That
Correct.
opens.
And this case is a message, right, to our high school athletes that are entering the collegiate athletic world, to fans, to sports bettors. This is a message that if you think we're stopping at 29 people or 26 people, absolutely not. This will not be the last case that we see. We will see cases that spread across sports, across genders. As we see here, they reached overseas to the Chinese Basketball Association and linked it all together here in the United States with the NCAA. So this is a pervasive issue, and we have no reason to believe that the DOJ is going to put it down after this case.
Yeah, so obviously this is far from over. But just because here in the state of Ohio, we've banned prop bets on collegiate athletes, that doesn't mean it doesn't take place. And that's the key with the interview that we were just talking about here. There's a chance that things can bleed in and bleed out of the state, and this is just going to be even worse. The most ironic part of all of this is you will see this covered on sports networks like ESPN or Fox Sports, and it'll be brought to you by gambling companies. That just shows a massive, massive problem in what is taking place, a problem the governor hopes will be solved here. I just want to read really quickly the governor's statement on this. It is available on our website. He says, "There's news out today of Philadelphia of another troubling case involving collegiate prop betting. This is why Ohio and the NCAA need to work to ban collegiate prop bets. They have done it in Ohio for almost 2 years. While I applaud law enforcement and prosecutors for taking today's actions, this disturbing news reinforces that states across the country need to follow Ohio's lead and heed NCAA President Charlie Baker's call to ban collegiate prop bets in their states as well." Problem is, money talks. Whether that happens or not, yet to be determined. All right, we have much more news coming up on 19 News at 9, 10, and 11, so we will see you there. For now, I'm Joe Sloss with 19 News. Have a great night. Much more to come, both on air and online.